Today we've got a special treat, and that is a picanha. That is a sirloin cap, and that is a cut that you typically don't see in your butcher. Now, depending on the region in the country or the world that you live, you may see it, but this is traditionally a Brazilian cut. In my life, I've only ever seen it in Brazilian steakhouses. But I partnered up with Certified Piedmontese, and they sent me some awesome high quality beef. And so today we're gonna be trying out their picanha roast. I'm gonna show you exactly what it takes to cook a high quality lean beef like this and how to cook this picanha roast. And I'll tell you what, picanha is a delicacy and you're gonna wanna stick around to see how good this steak turns out. When it comes to a delicate cut, especially these lean cuts of beef like you would get from grass-fed or from an antibiotic-free and steroid-free beef like we have with the Certified Piedmontese, you have to be careful with how you cook it. Now, typically, I'm a reverse sear kind of guy. I like to smoke them till I get to about 110, 115 degrees, then throw them on my griddle and just sear them to perfection. But when you have a delicate cut of meat, you have to be very careful with how you do that. So today, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna sear this first, and then we're gonna smoke it till close to final temperature. And with these leaner cuts of beef, we're gonna have to be careful with that final internal temperature. We'll talk about that more, but let's go ahead and get this prepared exactly how you should. When you get meat from Certified Piedmontese, it comes frozen and packaged with dry ice, and it is fresh and high quality beef. Now they come vacuum sealed in these individual packets, at least most of their cuts do, and so you know it stays fresh. So let me get this thing opened up here. Now, whenever I cook a steak, I always do my best to clean as much of the purge up off of the beef as possible. And I've got this paper towel here that I'm going to set this meat on, and I'm gonna pat dry this to make sure that we get as much of that off as possible. So whenever I do a nice high quality cut of beef, I like to start out with a little bit of an olive oil binder. And that just helps with the sear, and it also helps get the rub to stick. So I take a little bit of olive oil, drizzle it in my palm, and I'm just gonna gently wipe that all over the surface of this picanha. With these, they come trimmed very, very well, and so you really shouldn't have to do anything to this, other than to pat dry it and season it up and get it on your grill. So, as you can see, we've got a nice sheen to it. We're gonna go ahead and get it seasoned. Today I'm gonna be using my Bearded Butcher's Brock Lesnar seasoning, and this is a good steak seasoning. It's not overly complicated, and it's salt, pepper, and garlic based, as well as some paprika and a couple other spices. But with this picanha, we shouldn't have to be too delicate with the seasoning, so don't be afraid to get a little seasoning on there. We're gonna make sure that we season all sides. Pat that down, make sure it's intact on the surface of the meat. And then as you see, I got some on the cutting board here. I'm going to dab the meat around the edges into that seasoning. Simple enough. It's time to get this onto the griddle and sear it. So let me get that fired up and I'll meet you over there. To give this a nice mouthfeel, we're gonna be using some of the South Chicago Packing Wagyu beef tallow. Gonna use this to get the griddle nice and hot, nice and wet, and we're gonna use it to sear this picanha roast. Now, with this picanha here, all we're doing here is getting the perfect crust, exactly how you want it to be finished and seared. That's all we're worried about. We're not cooking it to final temperature here. But listen to that sizzle. We're gonna give it a little bit of time on each side. We're running this thing a little on the hot side because we wanna make sure that we get a good sear without cooking it too much, because we want the majority of the cook to happen inside of the smoker, which we're running with some good hickory wood in this Woodwind Pro. We're gonna flip it a couple times. I don't wanna overdo it, so I wanna monitor it. Like I said, with this lean beef, it is a delicate cut. So we're gonna flip it a couple times. We're gonna get that nice sear that we're looking for, and then we're gonna transfer it to the smoker. All right, so we've got a beautiful sear on the outside of this picanha roast. It is time to get it into the smoker. So I'm just gonna transfer it here from that Camp Chef Sidekick over to the Woodwind Pro. I'm gonna put this fat cap down on the upper rack. That way, the fat's kind of protecting it from that heat, and we are keeping it as far away from the heat source as possible. We've got the probe into that picanha roast. We are monitoring the temperature. We wanna make sure that we do not overcook it. This lean beef will go quick, so we are looking for like 126 to 128 degrees internal for a medium rare. Now I know, most of you are going 130 to 135. With a lean cut of beef, it's very easy to go from perfect to too much. So we wanna make sure that we catch it early and it'll be perfectly fine. It looks like we're just about done. I got my Thermapen MK4. I'm gonna check the temperature here. We're looking for between 126 and 128. 127, I think that's it. Let's get this thing off, get it over to the cutting board for a quick rest, and then we're gonna slice it up. I mean, just look at that. Oh, is it juicy too. This Certified Piedmontese Picanha Roast is done, and let me tell you what, it smells and looks amazing. I'm sure you could see it here for yourself. Now, when it comes to this, it took a little bit over an hour, and that is from the beginning, that is from seasoning it and searing it, and then to smoking it at about 220 degrees on my Camp Chef Woodwind Pro. Now, I used a lot of products in this video. Bearded Butchers, there's gonna be a link down in the description. I'm not an affiliate with Certified Piedmontese, but I'm a big supporter of their beef, and so there will also be a link to that. And then if you're interested in that Woodwind Pro, that thing there is a tank. That it makes some great food, and I think you ought to look into it if you're looking into getting a new grill or pellet smoker. But enough talking, it is time to cut this picanha roast. Now we were looking for a medium rare, and I'm okay with it on a little bit on the rarer side. Oh, talk about money, money. We're gonna slice this up, we're gonna give it a try. It smells amazing, very beefy smell. And as you can see, it is a perfect medium rare. Like I always say, none of this matters until we give it a try. Let me cut just a little slice off of there, and let's give this picanha roast a try. Hold the presses. Forget what everyone says about lean beef. Everyone thinks fat is flavor, and in many cases that is kind of true. But this Certified Piedmontese beef is very lean. So for most people, you might be skeptical because it doesn't follow that general rule of thumb that fat is best. This beef here is delicious. It has got a good beef, good earthy flavor to it, and it is so freaking juicy. I mean, look at that. It is delicious. I'm not gonna lie, that is probably one of the most flavorful pieces of beef that I have had in a long time. That is delicious. Now I'm gonna tell you, if you're looking for a good cut of beef, a very easy meal, actually a delicious frickin' meal, then I suggest checking out the products that I use in this video, specifically this picanha roast from Certified Piedmontese. And if you like that, then I'm sure you're gonna like this video right here.